محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم، أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور، وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه، وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك، من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار، في من تمن عليه وأدخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام، واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام، فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك، وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره، وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة إليه عظيما، وغناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك، فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك، فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهل عليك، ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور، فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي. يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إلي وأتبغض إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك، فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكل ولا ظهير يعاضد، قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنيئة قد أعطاني وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أراني فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد السائل ولا يخيب آمل. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع هاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيتي ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأظهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. وصل على سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتضل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به صدعنا وارزق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا واعزز به ذلتنا واغن به عائلنا واقض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيذ به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجح به طلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا واعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا واعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله آل محمد وأعن على ذلك بفضح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين فأدخلنا وفي عليين فارفعنا وبكأس من معين من عين سلسبيل فاسقنا ومن الحور العين برحمتك فزوجنا ومن الولدان المخلدين كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون فأختمنا ومن ثمار الجنة والحوم الطير فأطعمنا ومن ثياب السندس والحرير والاستبرق فألبسنا وليلة القدر وحج بيتك الحرام وقتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا وإذا جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فارحمنا وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا وفي جهنم فلا تغلنا وفي عذابك وهوانك فلا تبتلنا ومن الزقوم والضريع فلا تطعمنا ومع الشياطين فلا تجعلنا وفي النار على وجوهنا فلا تكببنا ومن ثياب النار وسرابيل القطران فلا تلبسنا ومن كل سوء يا لا إله إلا أنت بحق لا إله إلا أنت فنجنا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل أن تكتبني من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم المشكور سعيهم المغفور ذنوبهم المكفر عن سيئاتهم وأن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري. أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولق قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم أشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكسو كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أصير، اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله. For all المرحومين الفاتحة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We request Maulana Sahib to the member with your loudest of salawats. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mubarakatul Fatiha for these marhumin, marhuma Layla Bai Mirali, marhum Aqa Sheikh Muhammad Shariati, marhuma Nusrat Shariat, marhuma Ahmash Khalili, and marhum Shams Khalili, and marhum Ahmad Khalili, and all the marhumin of present mu'minin and kul mu'min mu'minat, those have departed from this world. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين وهو خير ناصر ومعين. الحمد لله الفرد الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتخبين المنتجبين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتاب المجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ثم كان عاقبة الذين أساءوا السوء أن كذبوا بآيات الله وكانوا بها يستهزئون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected mu'mineen, as most of you are aware that in this holy month of Ramadan we are discussing the beautiful surah of the Quran, which is called Surat Ar-Rum. This Surat Ar-Rum, it is very famous by its recitation in nights of Qadr, and it is highly recommended that surah on 23rd of night of Ramadan should be recited. If someone has missed a amal or action, many a time we miss night of Qadr, we miss Hajj in our life, or we miss, so many opportunities which we supposed to avail. But unfortunately, due to some reason. So what Imam alayhi salatu salam said, Imam said, any opportunity of the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you lose in your life, if you recite this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would compensate the reward of that opportunity with the barakah of this surah. So it's an amazing surah, which we can, even recite it every day, and also especially on 23rd or night of the Ramadan. So we are discussing the 10th, yesterday we were discussing 10th ayah of this surah. And what it is, actually here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the aqibah. ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ, those who have committed sin, or those who are sinful people. What is their ending? They do not have good ending. They have always evil ending. So first they start committing sin, and then they start, they start refuting the ayat of Allah, refusing the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they end up at worst thing, and which is making the fun of ayat, fun of signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means human being, when it is an evil thing, he goes gradually and he ends up at evil. So the topic that we were discussing yesterday, that there is nobody among the mu'minin and or among the human being who can have guarantee of his prosperity. Each and every human being, he is in danger. Innal insana lafi khusr. Each and every human being is in loss, is in danger. Anytime he can, change his path. Anytime he can change his track from right track to the wrong track. And that is why you see there are so many examples in the Quran. The example of, if you look, and that is why, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala he said, do not judge people based on their action. Always judge people at their ending. If you look at the beginning of the shaitan in beginning, mashallah, he was very righteous person. Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala in Nahjul Balagha, he says that shaitan has performed sajda on the surface of earth for 6,000 years. Just imagine, such a great ibadat shaitan he had. But what happened? What was the ending of him? He did not have good ending. And finally he was deviated. Look at the Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan. Shimr, he was one of the companion of Imam Amirul Mu'minin in Battle of Siffin. He was fighting for Amirul Mu'minin, in defending the Amirul Mu'minin. That one day would come and he is going to be the killer of his own son Abu Abdullah al-Husayn? Of course not. And then, so it means all these stories, all these, example, they shakes us and they, makes a big concern for us. And of course, and this is a big concern of Ahlul Bayt for us. And Ahlul Bayt, they told us in numerous dua that always supplicate and beg to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, make my end prosper end. Ya Allah, make my end good end. Do not end up, us at evil. And therefore, our ulama, great ulama, there is a scholar who is a very famous scholar, especially in Iran, and every, Thursday and every week, he has a Quran lesson on Iranian TV, and whose name is Ayatollah Mohsin Qaraati. Mohsin Qaraati also, he has written a beautiful tafsir by the name of Tafsir al-Nur. So anyway, so this alim, he says one day, he was in Mashhad al-Rida, especially in the morning before Fajr time. If you go to Mashhad of Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu salam, recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So over there, in Haram of Imam al-Rida, before Fajr, you see all the Maraj, those who are in Mashhad. So especially they come before Fajr. So he said, before Fajr, I was there in the Haram of Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu, and there were 3 Marja, great scholars, great Maraj. One of them, he was the Ayatollah Mirza al-Qummi. Mirza Qummi, he was one of the great scholars, great Ayatollah. And the other two were also very famous and renowned scholar, renowned Ayatollah. He said, when I found that there are three Maraji and they are sitting in different corners of the Haram of Imam al-Rida, he said, I found this beautiful opportunity. I said, let me go and kiss their hand one by one and seek some advices from them. At least one piece of advice. He said, I went to one Marja and asked him that, Agha, can you give me a line of advice? He said, I warn you, or I advise you to have concern about your good ending. About your ending. It's very important. He said, then I went to the second Marja. He advised me the same. He said, you have to have concern of your ending. You must have good, make sure you have good ending. And third Marja same. So good ending, it is something very crucial. Even when it comes to the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salatu salam, he is supplicating to Allah, Ya Allah, waja'alni muslima, Ya Allah, make my death on Islam. So this is, وَتَوَفَّنِي muslima. This is the wording of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Quran, he quoted the dua of Yusuf alayhi salam. When it comes to the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he makes and supplicate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Ya Allah, وَتَوَفَّنِي ma'al abrar. Ya Allah, when I depart from this world, count me among those who are righteous. So at the last moment, it is very important. Many people, mashallah, throughout their life, they were very good. But when they are about to depart from this dunya, so they, refute the ayat of God. They refute, all necessity of the religion. And for example, Amirul Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli. It is famous about him that whenever Amir al-Mu'minin used to go to the market, in market loudly he recites this ayah of the Quran, Surah Qasas, verse number 83. He said, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ نَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Amir al-Mu'minin is reciting, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ, that beautiful abode, that beautiful ending, that beautiful house. Tilka means, the meaning of tilka means the great, house. It is hereafter. It is, Jannah. And then this house is not going to be given to anyone except those who do not desire exalt in this dunya. Those who are not after name and fame in this dunya. Many people, those who are after name and fame, they are not going to be given, some beautiful ending. Because they attach with the dunya. So those who detach themselves from dunya, they would achieve, good ending and, prosperous ending. So today, in today's session, I would like to discuss some factor. Yesterday, I also discussed the same topic. So I would like to discuss some factor. What are the factors? What are the things through them we can have prosperous and successful ending? And therefore, I have collected some traditions of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, 4 or 5 depending on the time. Inshallah, I will finish and then conclude it within the time. I will not, inshallah, cross the time. Recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The first thing, it is taqwa. And also, there are so many ayat that وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ تَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. That you should, gather the provision for hereafter. The best provision for hereafter is taqwa. And وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. There are so many numerous ayat in the Quran that Jannat has been prepared for those who have piety. Now, what is the meaning of taqwa? What is taqwa? Look at this first hadith. Our sixth Imam, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala. Look at the effect of the taqwa. Imam said, Inna qaleel al-amal ma'a taqwa khayrun min kathir al-amali bila taqwa. Even when you have less or small action, but this small action, it is with taqwa. Imam said, small action, less action, little action with taqwa is much better than abundance of action. So what is the important thing? Important thing is taqwa. You do one tasbih, and that is enough, after namaz wajib, you just recite one tasbih, bi Fatima Zahra, and close your musalla and finish. That is maybe much better than recitation of 1 hour dua and 1 hour recitation. Why? Because taqwa is more important. Taqwa, without taqwa, your actions and your deeds are not going to be accepted. What is demand from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The demand is quality, not quantity. Quality is more important. Today, unfortunately, mashallah, actions are increasing, but the spirit of actions are gone from there, and which is, taqwa. So when Imam Ali Sallallahu, one of this this hadith is reported from the 6th Imam, when Imam uttered, these sentences from his mouth. So there was a man whose name is Mufaddal. Mufaddal, he said, Ya Mawlaya. He's asking from Imam the explanation of it. He said, كَيْفَ يَكُونُ كَثِيرًا بِلَا تَقْوَى. How it is possible for abundance of action can be without, can be without taqwa. Imam, if a person who is doing a lot of good deed, so how it is possible there is no taqwa? Then Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he gives example. He said, قَالَ نَعَمْ. Yes, it is possible. A lot of good deed, maybe without taqwa. They are, you are not going to get any reward upon them. So then Imam gives example. He said, نعم مثل الرجل يطعم طعامه ويرفق جيرانه. Yes, there may be a person who gives a lot of wealth in charity. He gives food to so many people. وَيُرْفِقُ جِيرَانُهُ. Even he looks after his neighborhood. فَإِذَا ارْتَفَعَ لَهُ الْبَابِ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ دَخَلَ فِيهِ. MashaAllah, he did a lot of charity, so many good deeds. But the moment door of haram is open, he immediately enters into it. What does Imam wanted to say? Imam wanted to say that, what is taqwa? Taqwa is that you should refrain yourself from the haram. And then if you do a small or little good deed, that little good deed is going to be you will achieve a big and great reward against this little. So most important thing about the taqwa is that you should refrain and protect yourself from the haram. And therefore there are so many examples. For example, Harun al-Rashid is one of the example of it. Harun al-Rashid, when our ulama, they are, coming to him and they give some advices to him, so he start crying. He used to, adopt their, advices. And he used to start crying, used to cry a lot over the recitation of ayat of the Quran and advices of the Islam. But when the door of haram is open, historians, they have written, when there is a party of wine or dance or so many other haram things, he used to be number one in benefiting from haram things. So, this is not taqwa. Taqwa is that on one hand, you should refrain yourself from haram, and then, whatever wajib is, whatever mustahab is possible for you to do them. And wajibat you have to, have with you. And therefore, Quran also, if you look at the Surah Mulk, Tabarak alladhi, this beautiful surah, Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk, and then, and then Allah subhanahu, He says, Alladhi khalaqa al-mawta wal-hayat liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. Very famous ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created khalaq al-maut, created death and life. And then what is the purpose behind creation of death and life? Ayyukum ahsanu amala. He wants to see who does quality action. Quality action is important. Someone asked from 6th Imam, Ya Imam, what is the meaning of ayyukum ahsanu amala? The meaning of ahsanu amala, the best action or the quality action. Imam alayhi salatu salam explained and interpreted. He said the meaning of ayyukum ahsanu amala is aswabukum amala. What is the meaning of aswab? Aswab means target. Sometime, we have competition. Let me give you an example over here. Let's say there is an arrow competition, archery or competition. You may find a person who may hit 100, arrows on a target, but no arrow hit the target. So which one is going to be appreciated? Or on the other hand, there is a man who hit only 2 arrows, but both of arrows hit the target. So this is called aswab. Maybe, someone may hit so many arrows, but no one is, targeting. But someone may have only two, may hit only 2 arrows, but both of them hit the target. Achieving target, this is called ahsanu amala. You do action, but achieve the target. Sometimes, mashallah, in our community, there are people, they are very fond of football. In football, criteria is not hitting the ball or running in the field. What is the criteria? Criteria is hitting the goal. So what Imam said, aswabukum amala. In action, it is not only action. Action is hitting the target. And that is the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the, pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, when it comes to be Fatimatu Zahra alayhi salatu wassalam, when she bakes some breads, so ayat of Surah Dahr, Surah Hal-Ata is revealed. What Ahlul Bayt they said, La nuridu minkum jaza'an wala shakura, innama nut'imu liwajhil. We are sacrificing, we are giving this, these breads in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Liwajhillah, solely, purely, only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the target. So therefore, the first thing how to achieve, success and prosper ending, it is taqwa. This is number one. Number 2 hadith. It is a beautiful hadith. And also again, it is reported from 6th Imam. 6th Imam, actually, it is not only hadith. It's if you look at the books of ahadith, so over there you find sometimes Imam says, Qal al-Imam. Imam says, Imam utter it, and the Ravi, he write it. But sometimes Imam writes it. So when Imam writes, of course, it's a more powerful than uttering. Maybe because a Ravi, he may mistake in writing. But Imam, he himself is writing. So someone write a letter to Imam. So Imam is Sadiq responding. And this man is asking, Ya Imam, tell me, give me some remedy. How can I have good ending? How can I have successful and prosper ending? So over there, Imam, he writes. He says, كتب الإمام الصادق. Riwayah says, إلى أحد مواليه, one of the disciples, and what he write, in aratta. These are the wordings of Imam. Imam said, if you desire, أن يختم عملك بالخير حتى تقبض. If you want your action ends at good, means if you want to have good ending, prosper ending in action, in terms of action, until you depart from this world. So Imam said, I'm giving you 3 remedy, 3 prescription. Number 1 prescription. Imam said, فَعَظِّمْ لِلَّهِ حَقَّهُ أَن تَبْذُلَ نَعْمَأُهُ فِي مَعَاصِي. Number 1 thing, that you should gratify the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Imam explained what does he mean. He said, أَن تَبْذِلَ نَعْمَأُهُ فِي مَعَاصِي. Never ever use the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is very important. Sometimes you and me, all of us, we receive gifts. So if someone gives you a gift, let's say father, he gives money to his child. So father, he has right to put some condition over over that money. He could say to his child that, oh my son, I'm giving you this money, but do not spend this money in wine or in haram thing. He has right, because father, he is the owner of the money, isn't it? So father, he has full right. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us something, a bounty or a gift, does not he have right to put some condition? And therefore, if you look at Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us eyes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَن يَغُضُّوا أَبْصَارُهُمْ. Tell to mu'minin that I have given them these eyes, but make sure they should not use these eyes in looking at the mahram. So it is, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trust. Allah gave us this eye. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us hands, so Allah said, قُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. Or do not use, al-Muslimu man salim al-Muslimuna biyadihi wa lisanihi. Muslim is the one who protect other Muslim from his, other Muslims are protected from his hands. So these are the, these are trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So gift, when you receive a gift, so you have to respect the, desire of the one who is giving you this gift. For example, someone, let's say today, it is an example, and of course, it is a reality also. Today we had, for example, Niyaz from Nasin Bhai. Nasin Bhai, at the end of Niyaz, he sends a plate of, meal to my house. He said, Maulana, you like kukupaka a lot. Huh? So that is why I'm sending you this, extra gift. So what does I do? What do I do? So I take, mashallah, I thank him. And then, I take that, meal and I put it in deep freezer. Huh? I said, oh, it's a mashallah Nasin by my friend, close friend. Huh? I should not use it. Huh? I should, keep it safe. Huh? So next week, Nasin Bhai, he asked me, Maulana, how did you enjoy the food? I said, yes, I kept it in deep freezer. Huh? It is frozen. Nasim Bhai would tell me that, Maulana, I told you that it is not deep freezer. You should eat it. You should enjoy it. Huh? So next time, again, he meets me. He said, Maulana, what did you do? Did you eat it? I said, no, I kept it underneath of the deep freezer. Huh? So I want to, keep it for a year or two. He would get angry, of course. It's possible. Huh? So because he wants me to use that dish. Huh? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a beautiful gift which is called Quran. Wallahi, this is the exact example for the Quran. We took this gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what did we do with it? We wrap it with, mashallah, juzdan, and we keep it in shelf. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to use, and we say, Ya Allah, we protected it. Huh? We said, because we love it. Would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be agree with us? Of course not. Allah gave us this Quran to utilize, to read it, to understand it, to infuse and inculcate it into our soul and spirit. But what we are doing, we are closing it, wrapping it, putting it over the door. So we are using it, and, we are just protecting it. So this is not right use of it. So what Imam Ali Sallallahu said, Imam Sadi, he said, if you receive any gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make sure you do not use it in disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, if you do it, then you will achieve the successful and prosper, ending. So this is number one. Number two thing, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, وَأَن تَغْتَرَّ بِحِلْمِهِ أَنْكَ Hilm, وَأَن تَغْتَرَّ بِحِلْمِهِ أَنْكَ. Imam said, do not be arrogant over the hilm, over the forbearance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the meaning of it? Let me explain it for you. Hilm, what is the hilm? Hilm, generally the meaning of hilm is forbearance. And this word hilm, it is a sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Quran, 14 times, in Quran, this word is used for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is forbear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is tolerance. This is a beautiful, sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just imagine, in this dunya, what is our habit? Any person who has more and more power, the more power you have, the less tolerance you have. And it is very famous that the person who has power is short temper. His anger is not in his control. He has less, forbearance. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah's power you cannot measure. Allah has authority and power over everything. Am I right? But along with that, isn't it something amazing? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forbearance is all forbearance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Halim. And therefore, in Dua Josh and Kabir, we recite, Ya Haliman la ya'jal. Oh Halim, you never ever hasten in giving the chastisement or giving the punishment. Beautiful sentence. Today, if a criminal is arrested by some, regime or by government or by ruler or by a king, so the king and the ruler, they try their level best to punish their criminal as soon as possible. Unlike Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He arrests his criminal, He do not hasten in his chastisement. Allah give him time. Allah despite, despite him. Allah give him a lot of time. Why? What is the reason behind? One of the reason ulama they have said, because the king or the ruler of this dunya, their power is limited. And they always have fear that if we delay in punishment, he may run away. But Allah subhanahu, this is not the case with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if criminal run away, where would he go? Everywhere is the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why, Ya Haliman la ya'jal. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are Halim and you never ever hasten in chastisement of anyone. So one sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Hilm. So what Imam alayhi salatu wasalam said over here, Imam wanted to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is Halim. Do not think that if Allah is not punishing you, you are on right path. Do not misuse the Hilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your action. Be careful. Yes, you committed sin. Allah is all forgiving. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Halim. He does not punish you. But one day, if you continue committing the sin, if you continue going against the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching, then what would happen? In a classroom, if a student, he start messing up the classroom 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, maybe 4th time, the teacher may erupt. So similar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 1 time, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, forbearing. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving you. But if you commit sin on regular basis, one day you may receive the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why Imam Sadiq, he said, do not misuse the hilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is number 3 in that segment. Now let's come to the last one, because the time is almost over. Recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And it is beautiful hadith from Rasulullah. He said, it is Amir al-Mu'min, he was sitting before him. So Rasulullah said, Ya Ali, anta wasiyyi wa amini, man mata wa huwa yuhibbuk, khatam Allahu lahu bil amn wal iman. Amir al-Mu'min is sitting before Rasulullah. Rasulullah said, Ya Ali, you are my successor. You are my trustworthy one. And whosoever love you, Ya Ali, his ending is going to be prosper ending. His ending is going to be, with security and with safety. So of course, Amir al-Mu'mineen love, Amir al-Mu'mineen mahabbat, Amir al-Mu'mineen wilaya. It is something which makes our ending good. And of course, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he takes the guarantee of it. Harith al-Hamdani, one of the disciples, one of the companion of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, one day he comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen. And in those days, Amir al-Mu'mineen is in Kufa. And you may have seen the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It was after Zohar time. It was like Asr time. So Amir al-Mu'mineen comes out from his house. And he is, just roaming in front of his house. He's making round over there. And after a while, he sees that there is a man, he is coming toward his house. His name is Harith al-Hamdani. Harith al-Hamdani, when he reaches to Amir al-Mu'min, he makes salam. And he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'min, what you are doing in this hot time? Because it's too much heat. He says, heat time, Asr time, you should have been inside. Are you waiting for someone? Imam said, I was waiting for you. Because I do not love my follower. They stand in front of my door and waiting for me and suffering with the heat of sun. So that is why I go out I comes out to my house and to receive you. So then Haris al-Hamdani, after making salam, Amir al-Mu'min asked him, why did you come here? He said, Mawla, I was just sitting at home and feeling about you. I was feeling love in my heart, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. I said, let me go and meet my Mawla. In morning time, because it's a cool time. I said, weather is cold. Everyone comes. Let me go at this time. No one should be around my Mawla. He said, are you true what you are saying? You came solely and purely and sincerely in my love. He said, yes, Mawla, I'm true. What I'm saying, I I have come to you only for the sake of meeting you. You know, sometimes we go to Karbala and we had some other works, and on other hand, we do the ziyarat. So Imam said, did you come to me purely for me? So Harith al-Hamadani, he said, yes, Mawla, I came to you purely in your love. So at that juncture, Imam Amir al-Mu'minin, he said, O Haris, whosoever come to meet us one time, we will come to meet him three times. And first thing, it is indal maut, when the malakul maut is there, and his tongue and his soul is being taken out from his body. So we'll come to help him. And the second time, when he is led in his grave, and the angels of death or the munkir and nakir, they come and they start interrogating with him. I will be there to help him and support him in answering the questions of munkir and nakir. And the third thing, in the mizan, at the time of mizan. So let us pray to Mawla Amir al-Mu'minin. Let us pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, by the right of Amir al-Mu'minin, by the rights of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, make our ending prosper ending and good ending. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If there is any question, please feel free to ask. You have few minutes, inshallah. Do not hesitate in raising your questions. Even in ladies' side, if there is any question, they can convey their message or their question to gents' side, inshallah. Okay, let me mention one of the questions which was just before the namaz today. It was about the Salatul Jama'ah. Someone asked me that, Maulana, I reach in Isha time, when we started Isha namaz. So he said, I reached little bit late, and I was not able to, pray my namaz with the Jamaat, Maghrib namaz with the Jamaat. So what is my duty? So in such a case, for example, if Imam has finished his Maghrib namaz, and Maghrib namaz is due and is still on your shoulder, you did not pray your Maghrib namaz. So what you can do, you can join the Salatul Jama'ah. Imam's is Isha namaz and yours is Maghrib namaz. So when Imam finishes his third rakat and he raises himself for fourth rakat, you should remain sitting, and you finish the tashahud and salam, and you end up your Maghrib namaz, and Imam by the time he is reciting tasbihat al-arba, and then he would go into ruku. So before Imam goes into ruku, so you should join the Salat al-Jama'ah when Imam is in ruku at the juncture, and you should make niyat of your Isha namaz. One rakat you would pray with Imam of your Isha namaz, and when Imam finishes his Isha namaz, so at that time you finish only one rakat. So for second and third and fourth rakat, so you should raise yourself after Imam finishes his tashahud. When Imam is reciting tashahud, make sure you are in the state when your hands are on floor and your knees are up. So you should wait for Imam until he finishes. However, you are allowed to stand up straight away, but it's recommended to wait for Imam until he finishes his tashahud and salam as well. And then you raise yourself for second rakat and third and fourth and finish your namaz in this way. So this was the question. Is there any other question? واخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد واهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الاحياء منهم والاموات. اللهم تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات انك مجيب الدعوات وانك منزل البركات وانك على كل شيء قدير. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة.
Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Just a remind from the Quran Drive team that we have got Surah Rum memorization, and I would encourage everybody to participate in the memorization of Surah Rum. There's a leaderboard. You can scan to join the leaderboard, and so that you can see how much Surah Rum. We can memorize, if we do two verses every day, inshallah, by the end of the month, it will be 60. Inshallah. So I think some of us are still very much behind, low, but still, inshallah, we have got time to join. But I would urge, please, everybody, join this drive, because the house, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the heart in which there is no Quran is like a dilapidated house. So we need to have Quran in our hearts. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Please stand for ziyarah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين وسيد الوصيين ووارث علم النبيين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي السلام عليك مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن شريكة القرآن كعبة الإيمان إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان عجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وزهور العمر السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا
إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمناد ثواب فاتحة.